I've just gone through quite a big shift in my relationship status. So I've just recently broken up with someone who's very special with me. Yeah, and so I'm giving myself the grace to let the dust settle and reformulate where that is, and that does impact how I sleep, and that does impact how I train and my motivation and my work. So I am giving myself space to just do what I want. It's okay. Just be human for the moment. The one thing that is omnipresent is communication and compassionate communication. I'm sure we've heard it all before, but we are our worst enemies. We're our biggest critic. We're the ones who are going to highlight all the reasons why we shouldn't, why we're imposter, how dare I even attempt it, who do you think you are, tall poppy syndrome, be quiet, don't stand up. People will think you're arrogant. It's all up here. It's all in our head.
Welcome to Ride to Success, the podcast that takes you on a learning journey to a more productive, creative, and active life through the power of the bike. I'm your host, Pedro Couto Lopes, and you can find me on LinkedIn under my own name. Today's episode isn't like any other. We are joined by Kate Strong, a 3-time world record holder in indoor cycling, ex-world champion triathlete, and a global advocate for climate justice, resilience, and radical authenticity. Now you might be wondering, why should I listen to this episode? I tell you why. Because this episode will challenge the way you see success, inspire you to reframe failure, and show you how a humble bicycle can be your gateway to a stronger, more purposeful life. So whether you're feeling stuck, tired of playing small, or simply curious about what it takes to live without compromise, Kate brings answers through her lived experience. So here's what's coming up if you stay until the end of the episode. The first one is the emotional turning point that sparked Kate's transformation from burnout to badass. The second is the mindset strategies that helped her push beyond physical and mental limits. The third, her journey to breaking world records on a static bike, and why she did it for something much bigger than medals or records. And last but not least, the powerful behavior shifts you can apply immediately to ride stronger, live more consciously, and lead with intention. So by now you're probably thinking, this isn't a story just about cycling. You're right. It's about rising from heartbreak, rejection, and building a legacy from the ground up. So let's get into it. Welcome, Kate, to Ride to Success. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
It's an absolute delight to be here. Lovely to meet you, Pedro.
Brilliant. I wanted to start this conversation by quoting you from a past interview that I think really gives a kind of a teaser into the conversation that we are going to have. The quote reads like this: "I keep finding new ways to demonstrate that we are far greater than we could imagine." And I think this really kind of sets the scene to you as a person, to the accomplishments that you have achieved along the way, all the way setbacks, wins. And I wanted to start by focusing on the kind of the cycling and the human potential that you have demonstrated, through breaking 3 world records on a static bike. And I wanted to start with this one because kind of a lot of our audience are cycling enthusiasts, and I kind of wanted to put this into reference to all the work that comes before and after. So, once you broke this world record, the first female to do so on a static bike, 24 hours, and then did it in 12. And then in the process of breaking the 24-hour record, you broke the 6-hour and the 12-hour. What did this experience teach you about you?
First up, it was the 1 and 12-hour world records I broke along the way, not the 6-hour. But
oh, really? Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, sorry, I didn't pick up on it earlier. Well, I'd failed that world record a fair few years previously and had kind of limped away with my tail between my legs, realising that just because I was a world's first doesn't mean I was going to be gifted a world record. I had to actually meet a certain distance as well. So I had to sort of recalibrate and check in to make sure that I was as committed. I wasn't just doing it flippantly. I needed to commit 100%. And obviously my
Right.
first time I failed, I hadn't. So the second attempt was in 2020. And as we know, the whole world was going through a
Exactly.
huge, he wasn't dealing with any health issues, but being locked down, struggling a lot in business. I think the world record gave me that focus to keep pushing through, but it did mean I had a few false starts. I had to cancel within 24 hours of one of the dates because the UK had lifted a lockdown and then imposed it shortly afterwards. And my
Wow.
team
Okay.
couldn't be with me. So I had to mentally prepare for a race without a date. I suppose it taught me how the grace of knowing that we can do everything we can, but it's out of our control whether we reach the peak or not. And it doesn't mean anything. That's what it taught me, that I needed to let go of the attachment to the result and just enjoy the journey for what it is.
Yeah, it's it's when you say it, it sounds simple enough, but it's not. Enjoying the journey, like you can kind of rationalize it, and you can think, okay, right, so I'm in this journey, so I need to enjoy it. But how can you, from your experience, for instance, like to the world record, you have no date kind of set on the calendar. You know that will happen in the future. How do you mentally prepare to kind of be in that journey that you know that there's an end in sight, but you don't know where it's going to be?
It's a really tough one, to be honest. And I think as athletes, and I think cyclists in particular, we're very focused on data, be it mileage, be it speed, be it revs and power output. We're inundated with that, and now we have segments as well. So we made 100 rides, but are we going to get a PB or King of the Mountain or Queen of the Mountain stage for this little segment in between? So we're completely, all our sort of validation is put outside of us. So I had to really lean into my personal coaching skills that I'd learned through mindfulness and meditation, and bringing my awareness into being present, enjoying the moment of now, which sounds really woo-woo and spiritual, but I think it's a really important practice for any athlete, especially athletes that want to progress and are achieving quite a pointy goal. I had to really strengthen forget the insecurity of the future, because I may not even be able to attempt it. I may get injured along the way, or my team dissolve, or move away. So I really had to focus on the now. What am I getting from now? What can I actually experience in the day, in the hour, in the minute, and pull away from that desire of external validation or future goals as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of drawing in from your own, I guess, what you're getting at. What do you want to achieve out of this? And it's not forget the external validation, forget the metrics that someone else sets, and what are you getting get out of this? And for you, what did you want to get out of it, like personally?
For me personally, I'd kind of shifted away from like gold medals, and fine, it would have been lovely to have a world records, but that really wasn't the big, the goal, if you want to know what I mean. For me, it was about pivoting away from sport being a selfish journey. Like, as you know, in the past, I had competed in triathlons, so I was an age group world champion in that. And
of course,
the success was fleeting, because as soon as I was number one, I had a target on my back, and I was the next one to beat. So the joy wasn't there as much for me, running away from others to try and reclaim that title. So I really wanted to find a way to use sport to connect with others, to use our amazing ability to cycle, or anything really, be it hiking or any other sports that people enjoy, to bring community together and raise awareness. So it was really important for me to do a world's first for a woman to talk about gender equality. And I also acknowledge there's a lot of privilege I have because of the colour of my skin, because I'm a cis woman, because I am able-bodied. So I have certain biases in my favour, but the sport and that world record in particular gave me a platform to say we need to have more representation. We need people from different socioeconomic, religious, physical backgrounds to be able to take this sport further than I could ever imagine because of my abilities, if you want, for what I have accidentally.
Yeah. And to that effect, you through breaking that world record, the 24 hours on a static bike, you did kind of along the journey, you accomplished that goal, and you through that you were able to showcase your mission, the purpose that you had, and talk through that in the media, and I mean, looking back, was the achieving the world record kind of a necessary step to raise the discourse around equality, around equity in sport for women?
That's a really powerful question. I'm sure there's many ways that we could do it. I suppose I just chose to my strengths, and I do go for pointy things. And world records do attract the media just because it's in the title. So it's, for me, someone who doesn't come from a PR background, it's an easy win. A very painful training, 16-month training to get an easy win at the end of that day.
Yeah, of course.
But people do sit up and pay attention. As you know, I broke another year around water. We did a river cleanup. And again, it got national media news, and it would not have happened just because 1,500 people came to clean a river is not news. Us breaking a world record is news. So I think it has a place.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, this is something that I've talked with other guests. I talked about the power of, the mission is clear, but sometimes attaching it to kind of if you will, something that will capture the media attention will bring you the attention you need to showcase the mission, the purpose that you had, kind of the advocating for that change to happen. So my question was not like, trying to, it was just trying to understand kind of the logistics of it, if you will. Not sure if that makes sense, but that's what I was trying to get at.
Don't think of me as wholly altruistic and exclusively doing a world record to say, to promote equality and fairness in the world. Of course, that is part of it. But part of me also wanted a world record. So I don't think there's any problem in saying I had this fury within me that really wanted to sort of prove to myself that I was able in my 40s to break a world record and have a few of the naysayers proven wrong, because that was just a nice little added bonus. But the yin and the yang, I think they fitted quite well together in this sort of world record attempt.
Yeah. And, you mentioned about the community. You also have, you cycled around Britain, dubbed as the climate cycle. Can you talk us a little bit about this? Because also this kind of really, I think, joins the essence of riding a bike for greater good. And along the way, you're creating change. You are cleaning up rivers, I believe, and like there's loads of angles to these kind of adventure quests, if you will. So kind of for people that don't know about it, can you just explain a little bit? Because I think it does kind of takes like the journey you have been on a step further, still using the bike.
Completely. It was definitely, you can sort of see the evolution of me through just my sports choices, really. And I'm sure your listeners, quite a few of us ride bikes, and we know that it's not a solo sport. Even if we ride alone, it's very invariable we meet a cyclist or a little group that says hi at the absolute minimum, or lets us sort of tag on while we're a bit fatigued and draft. So cycling, I think, is a very social sport. And it's a beautiful pace because we get to see the world and experience nature,
Yeah, definitely.
all elements, really. So we can't hide from the pollution from urbanized areas with intense cars, nor can we not be moved by the beautiful natural world when we're cycling along those beautiful B roads in Britain, where I'm from anyway. So,
Yeah.
but what I noticed with the world records is quite a few people dialed in because it was live streamed. About 50 or 60 people actually came along to watch throughout the 24-hour period. But without exception, nearly everybody said, I could never do that. It's amazing what you're doing, but I could never do that. And that wasn't what the message was. I wanted people to be inspired to step up and do something themselves. So the climate cycle was a means of taking the story to where people were at a pace that was very, very accessible. Because I was carrying over 30k of kits. I was carrying a tent and a GoPro and a drone and all that other amazingly crazy stuff. So I cycled for 3 months around mainland Britain, hugging-ish the coast. And I visited about 50 community projects that brought people together through either sport or movement to mitigate some element of climate change. So it was a beautiful way to see what communities were doing together and collectively. And I had about 150, maybe 200 people join me on their bikes as well, ranging for an hour up to 6 days. So it was really reached a lot more people, I think, thanks to me moving around and going at such a snail's pace as well.
Yeah, I mean, you just being able to ride, and with adding to that the kind of the impact that you have had along the way, it's it's just on very honorable what you've done. And I think what I wanted to try and understand as well, coming from a world record on a static bike, you explained why you wanted to do this. What about the angle of working in these community projects you mentioned, and also the kind of the climate aspect and the sustainability aspect of it? What were you trying to do?
I had a coach at the time who invited me to be in the question. So I went for this cycle with normally I would know exactly what I want. Why am I doing this? What's the planned outcome? My measurables, my deliverables, etc. But I decided to, whenever somebody asked me that question, I answered with a question, which was, I don't know, what do you think? And so that enabled other people to actually add their ideas onto this beautiful quilt that was Climate Cycle. They suggested I visit different projects. They suggested I do different ventures afterwards as well, where normally I would have told them, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, and I didn't. So it was actually quite refreshing for me to not know. And personally, I was just doing it to hopefully find some hope. I'm not sure if your audience resonates with this, but the media around personal health, mental health, our planetary health as well is in crisis. And I was getting really overwhelmed with the negative stories and this really dark future that I was living into. And I also wasn't hearing many solution-based stories based in Britain either. So the cycle was on a personal mission to reinstill a bit of hope in society, in other humanity, that there are good people out there doing good things, and that we've got the answers on our doorstep. We don't have to keep looking to the Silicon Valley or different countries and rainforests from abroad. We can do something at home. That was what it was for me personally as well.
It's interesting that you have, that these, from finding a problem, finding you kind of facing this almost kind of dark kind of assessment of what's going on in the world, or the media is showcasing in terms about the environment, what are the solutions to change. And so often if you look inwards, if you look at, what you as a person can do, it might be small, but it has an impact. So you can touch someone's life, and it doesn't have to be a huge scale operation. You do need that as well, because change doesn't only happen at grassroots level. It also needs to happen at higher level, managerial, C-suite, politicians, and so on. Through these the climate cycle, you mentioned that you are prepared to discover and not have as you mentioned, deliverables in place for this. And it's interesting that it is in parallel with the world record on the static bike, where you kind of stress the importance of enjoying the moment, especially when you didn't have kind of a date to complete it earlier on in 2020. And I wonder if there is a correlation here between like being aware of uncertainty of when I'm going to complete this world record, and trying to enjoy and focus on what I can do, what I can manage, and forget about the things that you out of your control. And the same here with the climate cycle, where you're prepared just to improvise, discover, just enjoy the moment, really connect with the communities alongside the way, and just try to kind of make your path kind of as flexibly as possible. Is there a correlation, or is that too far stretched?
I think it's a little stretched, because
okay.
just to be completely transparent, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
maybe you see the correlation, because for the world records, I did train extremely detailed for 18 months leading up to the success of it, and then I could let it go. So I focus on what I can control and then let it go. As long as I did it, I let it go. So I didn't check my numbers. I just knew if I met them or otherwise. So if I had 5 training sessions a week, and one of them I only managed half the session because of time constraints, I didn't then carry that burden with me. But I did my best to make sure I made it the best I could. So,
yeah.
But for the climate cycle, because I had 24 hours to get somewhere, even if I had 80 miles, over, I can't work it out in kilometers, over 100 plus K a day,
mm-hmm.
I noticed a certain societal pattern of my brain going, oh, you got to get there, you got to get there. And I was like, to do what? Why? Why is this incessant desire for me to keep pushing? So I used to force myself. If I noticed the, got to finish in me, I'd force a stop and just say, sit here, wherever you are, and count the, blades of grass, or count the number of cars passing, or watch the waves crashing on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Break the pattern of this hunger for speed and urgency, because I think we're just missing so much of life. The presence, yes, you're right, that is there, but maybe not the detail. Because obviously, world record, mm-hmm. I had to reach a certain mileage, which meant whether I was on or off track, I just sort of delegated it to not be in my sphere. And the other one, I had nowhere to be.
So, okay, yeah, I guess it's okay. All right, it's very two different outcomes, and kind of two different journeys that to get you there.
Yeah. Top level, I think they're very similar in that the mission was to connect and inspire and be inspired. So that was always present. How I did that, I think, was, and the bike was obviously consistent too. Yeah. Who doesn't love cycling? So yeah, that was consistent.
So kind of with the climate cycle, what was? I mean, there must be amazing, wonderful stories that you have experienced along the way. Is there a particular one that stand out through being involved in these community projects along the climate cycle?
such a hard question because there's so many beautiful memories. One simple, like just a cycling story. I left London on the 5th of June, and the first day I had off is in Edinburgh. So I cycled for about 16 days non-stop. I'd never done more than 2 days back to back up until then. So to say my body was physically exhausted and mentally fatigued, averaging 60 to 80 miles a day on average, up some pretty gnarly hills. As I was approaching Edinburgh on my last day before my first day off, I was just bonking. I was just slowly crashing inwards. I was going ever slower. My energy was being sucked out of me by the sun as well. It was beating on my back. And two cyclists in their Lycra on pretty fast bikes just sort of cycled next to me. And they didn't say anything initially, but they obviously slowed their pace. And after a bit of time, one of them offered me some sweets, someone offered me their drink, and they just started to chat. They were from the area. And just that act of compassion and friendship, it lifted my spirits so much. And it really reminded me why I was on this cycle, that it was to meet people like that who cared about strangers. Because I hadn't eaten properly and I was bunking and I hadn't realised it. So they really, without them, I don't think I'd have got to Edinburgh. I'd have stopped and cried on the side of the road. So that, I mean, it's not a project per se, but it's just the camaraderie of seeing a stranger as a friend we need to support rather than just cycling past and speed is what they could have done, really.
Yeah, I guess it goes to show that there is, the kindness in strangers and recognizing that. Connecting with someone along, going through the experience of riding a bike, it's so important. It speaks about sometimes it's kind of the kindness of the humanity can be quite despairing to look at what people can do to each other, but those small acts of kindness can just they are needed and lift you up. For sure, and that's what happened in your case. But I still wanted to go back to the. I wanted you to talk through the the projects that you have involved, because that's kind of also what brings the impact to the climate cycle. Kind of the sort of. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is there a project that through your bike ride that you found particularly interesting, that you worth sharing? I mean, I'm sure that all of them were, but because otherwise you wouldn't have been there. But what if you have to pick one.
Yeah, well, I'm going to focus on one that impacts, I think, every cyclist, which I teamed up with the University of Surrey GCARE department, which is the Global Centre for Air Quality Research and Education. And I tracked with a little monitor that I carried with me 24 hours a day, the air quality that I was cycling through. And it was significantly surprising for me to see how polluted certain roads are. And not just the impact on the environment, because that heavy pollution sits somewhere and the toxicity gets into our land, etc. But 78 deaths in the UK alone each day are directly attributed to air quality problems. So this is and that number's hidden somehow. So it's absolutely staggering. And in London, even the ex-mayor, he had adult asthma on set because he started to run, and that was triggered by the road quality. And so it's really, even for us who survive, it's omnipresent that we're breathing in toxins and chemicals. So to be able to track that using the air quality device, so it wasn't a standalone project. It was obviously throughout the whole 3 months on the road.
The whole thing, yes.
But it just reminded me that simple acts of planting trees next to our roads, or putting a little bit of a barrier of greenery next to our schools as well, can help absorb that pollution. Turning cars off while while we're waiting at lights helps reduce pollution. if we wanted to get a little bit more, as you talked about, pushing it up the chain, putting pressure on the government to stop burning our recyclables, or transition to a quicker, greener energy, making sure our pensions or our banks don't invest in climate negative investments. So bank.green is a great resource for that. So, I mean, it's not, I'll share a very specific standalone project afterwards, but I was completely shocked by the amount that air quality impacts us on a daily basis, and also how bad it is. And it wasn't just London. Like, London wasn't super bad. Some of the areas outside of cities was just as red in the red zone as
really.
expected.
Were you cycling through main roads? Were you cycling through like country lanes?
It varied
like a mix?
It did vary a lot. I chose against gravel or off roads because the amount of kit I was carrying, I was struggling a lot with punctures. And, after you've done 5 punctures a day, I just went, I cannot. It was demoralizing because I've got to take my bags off, and it wasn't just an easy fix for me. So, it was mainly A or B roads.
Okay. So, I mean, those roads, you do have a lot of traffic, but you do kind of. So, I'm just out of curiosity now, like with this research that you help gather to monitor the air quality around Britain, were there any particular findings that kind of you were most shocked by, or like that you surprised you positively by?
I mean, just to be clear, the information is very sort of, it's more just for conversation piece, because there's so many variables. When it rains, pollution is less than when it's sunny. Weekends are less pollution than weekdays when we're commuting. So there's a lot of variables that I couldn't track. But it's getting us thinking, and also getting schools involved in potentially imposing a no car policy driving to and from school. But I think it couples with the safety of people on the road as well. I think pedestrians, cyclists, non-car users basically are secondary to thinking when planning transport. Sure. So we aren't just, we'll just give them an extra meter on the road kind of job. We need to now think about our health as well, and making sure that the cars need to be secondary rather than the greener, safer, healthier alternatives to transport.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling that the amount of pollution is generated by traffic, idling motors, just pumping out fumes into the atmosphere. And as a cyclist, as a person that uses a bike to commute from home to work, that is invisible. You can see sometimes the smoke, but air pollution sometimes can be invisible, and you do suffer, especially. I have to commute in London, and just kind of, I make a choice to do it, but it's at my own risk. It's my own health that I'm putting at risk. But it's kind of, there is kind of this starting to be policies to put in place to kind of limit the amount of CO2 emissions, the amount of traffic, controlling that in some way. I mean, but that's kind of, those, what you just mentioned about putting, like planting trees or implementing some kind of structure that can limit the traffic around schools, for instance. It's kind of, you would think would be simple things to do, but so that it kind of reduces pollution, and especially in cycling, where it's such a green way to travel, but sometimes the industry itself is not as green as we would like to believe. Just because of the manufacturing aspect of it as well, and so it's
and the N+1 rule as well.
Sorry,
it's the N+1 rule as well. It's the consumerism that we always need more. New kit, new this, new that, when we still have old stuff.
Exactly. And okay, so you touch on that monitoring the air quality. And I'm also interested in the kind of the community aspect. It's something that you were, or what you described, quite passionate about. So kind of, has there been anything that you learned along the way, along the climate cycle, about community and the power that the community has to create positive actions towards improving sustainability causes, climate action?
Yeah, I hope it's an obvious sentence, what I'm about to say to the vast majority of your listeners. Community is the answer to nearly every question. It gives us a space to be okay to fail and have that support network. It gives us the courage to keep going on. It gives us the confidence to know we're on the right path as well. And it's a great space to be able to work together. Like, I don't have to be an expert in everything. I just need to bring my skill set to the table, and together, collectively, we can work together to find the answer. And community does involve different ages, genders, as I keep saying as well. Like, we do need to invite everyone to the table to get that beautiful mix and diversity that works in community. And this is such a simple idea. There's one lady in Porthmadog, which is Midwest Wales. She and some friends, they plant herbs next to the local leisure centre. So when you go to the gym or the swim, you just pick your rosemary or your basil or your thyme, so you don't have to buy a plastic bag in the shops for free, There's other communities that offer, when you finish bodyboarding in Newquay in Cornwall, you just put them there and you can just borrow them. You don't need to rent them. You don't need to buy a single-use piece of plastic that, thousands get left every single year, and you can't recycle this polyfoam thing. There's another company that makes it out of wood, and again, you can borrow them for free. So there's this beautiful initiatives of community spirit. I've recently joined a beach cleanup near where I am at the moment in South Wales. And every day we go out and we have a cup of coffee. It's 50% off if we come with a bag of rubbish. I mean, it's such a simple idea, but it's a way of us supporting the network. So I think community is the answer.
It's just, it is. It's kind of, it speaks about the power of having people join together and caring about the environment they live in, caring about how, whether it is the cleanliness of it, whether it is how traffic is organized, it's so and I think I don't know, I wanted to put this question to you. Is it easier, kind of this aspect of community, even from your experience through climate cycle, is it easier to see these projects, community projects, happening in kind of in smaller towns than it is in bigger cities, or it just is not necessarily true, because it can happen? You just need to have a group of people that have the same values and can work towards the same goal.
You could say it's easier for either. In the city, you have more people, so you're more likely to meet like-minded people. You have access to a wider range of resources. But remotely, you're actually more dependent on community. So therefore, there might already be a network in place, or grants and government funding to support you. Again, in West Wales, there was a community in a very small village that came together, and they bought for over £1 million a wind turbine together. So they all now have a capped and permanently discounted electricity. Any profit they've now built a community hub, and they've invested in an e-van that picks up the elderly communities and takes them shopping twice a week, and then has a cup of tea afterwards in their community hub.
Brilliant.
But I've also seen a city that came together, and in an allotment, they've created a welcome to our community meetup. It's called Lottie's Larder. And they welcome asylum seekers and refugees so that they can learn how to cook different styles of food. They can embrace different cultures and languages, but also support their newest members to their city or their town as well. So, but again, that little village wouldn't have access to that diversity of person, and vice versa. A city may not be able to build a wind turbine for obvious reasons.
I guess it just comes to well, you obviously you have certain logistical aspects that you can't achieve depending on the size, depending on the location. But yeah, it comes down, I guess, to how resourceful you are prepared to be in how prepared you are committed to be as well. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always invite people to have possibility thinking mindset. Like, what if it was possible? What could I do? Rather than the resignation mindset of, oh, it'll never happen, or it's never been done before. So let's play the game that we could do it if we dreamed it, and deal with whatever happens along the way, rather than setting ourselves up for negativity already.
And I wonder, I mean, that's kind of, I think it's kind of very important that you just mentioned that, because it's like it touches upon the aspect about turning kind of the negativity, turning fear into opportunity, thinking about the possibilities rather than the limitations. Kind of I wanted to now to kind of slightly turn to a more personal side. Through your journey, you went through. Is it fair that you turned to cycling or to triathlete, to become a triathlete, kind of as a transformation, as a pivotal moment to move away from a relationship that you felt it was broken, in your words?
Pretty much, yeah. So my fiance of 9, well, we'd been together for 9 years. He left me 6 days before our wedding. And it was quite a sort of controlling relationship. This is back in 2012. And yeah, it shattered me. I was grateful we weren't going to get married, because, as I said, it was very controlling and toxic, and I was afraid to leave, but I was also fearful of staying, but sort of caught in this paralysis of immobility. So him leaving was, in hindsight, he did me a solid, if you want to say it like that. But yeah, I definitely turned to sport as a healing. Like, you don't need to be Freud to work out. I was running away from dealing with what I was doing. I was running away from society. Like, what has happened to my life? How am I going to get through this? We owned a business, so we had a lot of debt. There was a lot of complications that took 2.5 years to resolve. And sport was a very easy way to press pause on dealing with my personal issues. And as well, build up a little bit of confidence, to have the courage to go for a goal for me, to finally put me on the list of things I had to look after, from business, the dogs, the ex, the da-da-da-da. Finally, I was up there in this form of triathlon training, but at least I was featured on my list of things to care for now.
I mean, it's such a powerful story, because it's kind of you turned kind of a situation that where you as you mentioned, toxic relationship, being kind of in a broken relationship, and turning that into an opportunity to go on a journey of self-discovery, if you will, to recover from that traumatic experience, I have to say. And you turn to sport as a way to heal yourself. Triathlon. Is this as this now, the experience of triathlon turning to sport to heal you? Is this something that is still present in kind of your life today? Do you still use cycling? Do you still use sport as a way to emotionally and kind of mentally still process your experience from the past?
Definitely. I think movement and connecting to our body is a super powerful thing. We act as if we're very cerebral, as we're walking around thinking beings. We're not. We're feeling beings. We're guided much more by our emotions than we ever give credit. We try and logicalize our decisions or our responses or our reactions, or, oh, I didn't do that work because of X, Y, Z. No. You felt something. That's why it wasn't done. There was resistance from within. We're just unconsciously aware of it. unaware of it. So I definitely use movement to reconnect to me, to work out what's going on, but also get those moments of inspiration. Quite a few of my ideas, the best ideas I've ever had, have been whilst moving, as in physically moving on a bike, running, or even swimming. Though I must admit, I'm mostly focusing on not swallowing water while I'm swimming than inspiring ideas. But it's a way of, connecting, definitely.
It's the motion, helps kind of stimulate the both sides of the brain and just kind of allows you to unlock, if you're the feelings, experiences that you have, and kind of process that along the way. And
on that note, I just want to say to your listeners, of course, listen to a podcast, update on, listen to your audiobooks, get on your music and get your drive on. Have some silent time as well. I used to do 60 to 80% of all my training in silence to hear what was going on in my body. How do I talk to myself? What part of my body is screaming at me, saying I'm in pain or I'm being held in the wrong way? And get used to listening to us in silence. And then have the music as an added bonus, not as I can't run unless I've got the music on. So embrace quiet time.
I'm also interested to, building on what you just said, is when you turn to triathlon and you were competing at a very high level, was that kind of, did you feel that was a way of running away, or was it like a way of finding a connection with others or with yourself? Just I wanted to ask this question because you mentioned earlier about the climate cycle, finding a community, finding empathy with the people that you talk along the way, that you kind of meet along the way, and obviously two very different, contrasting almost scenarios, but just running if kind of where you are now has kind of started in that professional in kind of career as a triathlete. Obviously there's much more to you than that, but there is a path that kind of where you started as a triathlete. And was it as a process of running away, but then discovering yourself and kind of alongside finding empathy towards your own person?
It's a really important question. So thank you so much for asking that. And with total honesty, I would say that the vast majority of my triathlon era was to suppress me having to deal with what I thought was a significant breakdown and failure in my own life. So triathlon gave me a way and an excuse to not even think about it, because I was either on the bike or running or cycling or swimming or prepping my food or sleeping. It was a complete, don't even think about it. It's just too big a mountain to even look at. And fast forward 3 years after I had become world champion and completed 3 Ironmen in a year and overtrained to the point where my body was starting to fall apart. And then I tore my labrum in a yoga class, so I couldn't run in my hip. Then I sat with the 3 years of ignoring my emotional trauma, and but without being able to do any sport. So I ground to a very abrupt halt and had to realize that I now had to deal with what was the mess of the remaining of my life, but without having the ability to move, because I was in immense pain, struggling with a big injury, and to help me escape from it and or process it. So it was, it was, I didn't deal with it healthily. My relationship now is much better, just to be clear. It's much more wholesome, but I do see flickers still of the fury in me now and then.
Your experience is, it's really traumatic. I can't even put into words exactly how to describe it, because I didn't experience it. It was you. I don't know how to even verbalize it. But kind of from looking as an outsider, from what you share, it clearly has put you in a much better place. And now we are talking about it in retrospective. And clearly along the way, you have turned your passions, through triathlon, coaching, sustainability, and turned them into a kind of almost a personal brand. It's not almost; it is a personal brand. It's what you stand for, your values, and and but building on what we've been discussing. What lessons can you kind of share from that experience of going from a very low point in your life and kind of riding your way into clarity and turning your passions into a powerful mission? What advice would you give to others that either are going through that or just kind of perhaps would use your experience as a way to kind of unlock even more of their potential, if you will?
Yes. We could have a whole entire series on this question alone, really, couldn't we? And I'm sure quite a few of your past client guests as well would have so much wealth of knowledge as well. So, where do I start? Because who I was 10 years ago is obviously very different to now. And so my advice of today is very different to even say last week, because things have shifted for me. I suppose then, let's just say the first thing I'd say is keep your goal in stone and your journey in sand. But your goal is how you feel, not what you do or what you have. So focus on how you feel and don't care how you get there. So if you want to feel connected, inspired, motivated, healthy, it doesn't matter if that's on a bike, on a kayak, or knitting with friends watching a series on TV. Focus on your goal of how you want to feel, and the rest will sort itself out. So that's the first one, I'd say.
I think, yeah. It's kind of in the it's sorry, I'm just processing, but it's such it's such a great insight, because it's you in nowadays you kind of look at objectives. Okay, right, what do I want to go? Okay, yes, I want to achieve this. I want to be promoted, or I want to ride 100k, or whatever is objective you want to set yourself. And then you so walk backwards, trying to find the milestones that I need to achieve to get me to that goal, and try to enjoy the journey along the way. But you are changing the perspective. You want people forget about the objective, but focus on a more core principle. Is that how you want to feel?
And it means it doesn't mean you stop being driven. It doesn't mean you stop big goals. If you want to write a book in a year, crack on. That's a great goal. But why do you want to write the book? Or you want to do a 100-miler. Brilliant. Why do you want to do that? Because that's the reason. That's what will get you out of bed. And if you have 100 punctures, or if the race is cancelled, or if your book takes 3 years, not 1 year, you still got what you wanted every single day. And you can really easily recalibrate and find out if we're off kilter. Simon Sinek talks about start with why, and that's similar, but I use it as an emotional journey rather. Why is a bit purpose driven, it's a bit corporate. So how do you want to feel doing this? Because that'll stay with you much longer. If you're miserable but you do a 200-miler, no one wins, do they? You get a medal, but you remember all the crappy moments and the people you've annoyed and the partner that left you because you weren't there for them either. So, yeah.
So it's kind of, I think it's, when you think about it, what you just said, I think it's very powerful, because it just, it asks you to reframe how you see yourself, and how you want to, how you want to frame what you do in your day to day. So kind of focus in a more inward way. That's what I'm getting, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely in a drive. It's definitely the internal validation and the recalibration.
Yeah.
Our North Star is inside ourselves, not outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And kind of, it's interesting that you have been on kind of on this journey of self-discovery. I think you have, as you mentioned, there's never a clear answer, or from last week to this week, you might have a different answer to the same question I asked, but there must be a kind of some clarity in a few things that looking back from your past experiences to where you are now, that there are a few things that you clearly had to unlearn, if you will. Like, this is not who I want to be. This is who I want to be. So like making that leap from for instance what you just described, at like think about how you want to feel rather than what. So not so focused too much about external validation. It kind of, and so just to reveal a little bit more about that process, kind of to if you will, to paint a whole picture of who is Kate Strong.
Sure.
What have you to unlearn along the way to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think the one that when you were talking, the biggest one that jumps out to me is the true meaning of leadership, if you want. And like, I used to be fiercely independent, and I use the word fierce, like I was ferocious about doing it myself, about not needing support, definitely not asking for help. Goodness me, I was born strong. My name is Kate Strong. I am not weak. I do not ask for help. That is not in my library of words to use. And I really had to unlearn that asking for help is not a weakness. Independence doesn't mean doing it alone. My triathlon era, I had just 2 or 3, maybe no more, friends that really supported me throughout that journey. And they did nothing on the swim, cycle, or run, but they helped me run my business. Or they were just there at the end of a hard cycle when I was so cold, and they just took my shoes off for me. And in those small moments, I had to start being gentler to myself and to others, because they helped me stay motivated to keep doing the hard mileage, even though I felt I was doing it all alone. Because it's tough. We don't need to carry the world on our shoulders. So the big thing I've sort of shifted towards is just asking for help, asking for people to want to be part of this. Offering others as well to collaborate. Not, I'll tell you what to do, but you're on your own. I'll be like, no, let's just hold hands and walk together and just see what comes out. Let's just do this together. So that softening has really expanded the experience that I'm having, and the results, if you want to look on the outside as well.
Yeah, I guess I think there is a saying that if you want to go fast, do it alone. If you want to go long, do it together. Something along those lines. I'm not sure if it's my own version.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But it's perfect. It's almost perfect.
Yeah. And that kind of asking for help. I mean, it's speaking from experience, that's also kind of when you were sharing that learning experience, kind of deeply resonated with me, because it's also something that I find I struggle sometimes, is like asking for help. And if you ask for help, you just are able to share the burden, share the load, go further, and share that experience with others. And it's it's kind of it's not about so much perhaps the ego, but it's trying to include other people in that journey. if you will.
Yeah, and it also helps when we're struggling with things as well. So one of my clients at the moment has their idol growing up is now their boss in the company that they work for. It's a small sporting niche company.
Okay.
And she's really struggling with the relationship because her idol isn't the person who she thought he was. And there's quite a lot of sort of bossy, there's a lot of micromanagement going on and she feels disempowered. I'm helping her coach now. She's currently in the journey at the moment of speaking with her boss to share the burden of, I'm struggling with our communication style. Can you help me understand your reasons for speaking that way and also how I can better respond? And it sounds like a simple relationship, but the fiercely independent Kate, let's pretend I was her, would never have suggested that before or worked through that before, because you just do it yourself. You get a new job, you do it better, you prove you do it alone. This is a collaborative space. And I feel that this actually could open up a lot more for not just my client, but also the company as a whole to reevaluate compassionate communication rather than the vertical chain we've been taught. So we can share burden as well as joy.
Yeah, and as a royalty, everyone will benefit. The people, it's like if you're thinking about you as an individual, but the people around you, the family, business, everyone will benefit. I wanted to kind of to touch something about something also I think is important to you, and you with the world record in 24 hours in a static bike, you were vocal about, and rightly so, to reach equity and in sport, for women. What is for you kind of since 2020? Have you seen changes since kind of that you feel that are very positive in society from 2020 to where you are now in the sports sphere?
I'm not an expert in this. I just sort of very much go with my gut and intuition. But the short of it is, yes, I have. I think, please correct me if I'm wrong with the data, but I think we had, if not 50%, but more female Olympians and Paralympians competing for Britain this last Olympic cycle than ever before. So we're stepping up and being able to represent. There is more funding available for grassroots female sports as well. The female football club team, they're smashing it. And they're showing what true sports people should be like, which maybe we're not being represented, the sports attitude elsewhere. But what's also curious is female athletes, because we don't have the heritage of societal expectations like some men's sports do, we're able to actually vocalize a voice with purpose. The female football teams, for example, are much more vocal about eradicating fossil fuel sponsors because it completely goes against their sport. It's killing the sport that they love. Men may not be able to do that because they're beholden to the purse strings a bit more. So it's beautiful to see more women in sport, and they're also leading the way in showing what power sport can be for purpose-driven causes as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's. I wasn't. That's. Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't looking for a particular answer or anything. It's just your honest take. Because you do. I think you, and correct me if I'm wrong. In a culture that is sometimes very obsessed by, competition, reaching goals, being the first at something, kind of you stand for kind of a more collaborative approach rather than competing, and that has been in itself has been something that you have kind of been on a journey as well since your days as a world level triathlete, and wanted to kind of feel also from your coaching experience. I know how do you emphasize the benefits of collaboration, whether it is in a sports sphere, in a business sphere, over competition?
As an athlete, I think, and as an elite athlete, more. I mean, I was unique in that I trained alone, I worked alone, I lived in a village of 2,000, so I didn't, I'm a very sort of anomaly to this narrative. Most athletes have a team around them. They have a coach, they have a nutritionist, they have a national coach. They're given a lot more sort of behind the scenes support. They might have a mechanic as well if they have some type of technical equipment. So they understand the importance of team front of house themselves, doing the training, but also the back of house as well. But what's curious is there are more and more sort of charities popping up. I myself am a coach and mentor for one called the True Athlete Project, which are helping giving athletes a platform to understand their purpose through their sporting career and beyond as well. So we're able to help athletes use their voice to be able to find out how they can leave their community a bit better, be that accessible swimming for Paralympians, to access to becoming a mechanic in the cycling world as well. So it's really diverse to say, how can we get more people involved, bring more of my community together, not just people who can afford it through time and money, but everyone who could be the greatest next cyclist, or the Bradley Wiggins who's missing out because they go to a school that doesn't have a cycle policy, or they can't afford their own bicycle. Like, what are we missing out because we're not allowing more of our community access to what we take for granted? So I think athletes are being challenged to do this more. Just for data, in case you're curious, in the 70s, Britain used to see scientists as the point of influence and decision making, with politicians sitting just below. So over 50% of influencers were scientists and policymakers. Today, 28% are footballers, and about 30% more are different sports put up. So Ronaldo moving a Coke bottle and replacing it with water takes millions off the value of Coca-Cola. So athletes now are seeing the power of their voice to say, I'm not going to compete today because I've got a mental health day, to actually we need to have food served in every single school. And so I think more athletes are now being taught that they have the position to have a voice at the table. Before we were told it was, I call it the Oliver Twist model. Please, sir, can I have some funding? And I promise I'll be a good person and won't talk out about you. Now we're saying, actually, we don't want your money. We feel greenwashed. Can you go away and give me something a bit more for cause? So that confidence is coming through, and athletes are feeling it, which is wonderful. Good on them.
Yeah. I think when you are able, I think with that, they also have, if you have their I guess if their purpose is truly aligned with who they are and what change they want to see, then that will reciprocate on a more deeper level with the people that they are communicating to, rather than someone in an office trying to communicate that message. And you've seen that time and time again with athletes voicing opposition against policies or wanting to make changes, and governments listening, because I guess in the same effect as well to musicians, actors, they also have in some regard that power if what they want to achieve is aligned with what they say, and how they conduct themselves, how they talk to people, then people will see clearly through what the message, and if it rings true to them, they will action on that. I was just thinking there's multiple examples, but trying to remember of a few of them. But okay, the only one that comes to mind right now, because I'm rubbish with names, is kind of the example of Live Aid or Band Aid. It kind of where a group of musicians get together, fight a cause, and governments start listening to that and start putting process in places to change that.
Yeah, exactly. And even more recently, I think there was an Irish band that has been cancelled because they said something around politicians dying, but it turns out that they were cancelled for speaking out about freeing Palestine. But that now is making the news about saying, even when musicians and athletes are able to now call out the media even to say, hey, you're not covering a genocide. You know, we need to do something about this. We need this on the table. Why isn't our government stepping up? And so it's terrible that that's happening in the world, but it's refreshing to hear more and more people standing up and using their platform and influence to say, look, I've got a strong opinion about what we need to do, but we at least need to have it on the table to talk about. So do your bit, bring it up, please. So it's great to see the power of the individual being led by athletes and musicians.
Exactly, yeah. I wanted to, in this line of kind of mindset, purpose, kind of it's is this through your coaching, are you helping people through kind of major lifestyle transformations, or just to reach kind of a goal, or in the cases also on athletes that you're working with?
Question. I work with anyone, in short, so not just athletes, through my mentoring program, because it is with the charity. Obviously, that is with athletes, but anyone else. I have coached from CEOs down to students, basically. And it does vary. I mean, personally, it's always nice when someone says, I want to do X, and it's a really big thing, and we can really, I can see the progress each week. But I know that's a personal fix. I can go, yes, I'm making a big difference because I'm seeing it. I think the bigger shift, though maybe less gratifying for a coach, is somebody who just says, I'm feeling stuck. Like, I'm happy in my marriage, I'm happy in my work, but I just feel like there's a bit of greying going on, like the colour is being sucked out, or the vibration of life is being flatlined a little bit. Like, I'm just feeling there's something more that I'm not getting. So they may come to unravel what they're dealing with and bring more colour in, which might not be a big change, but it could be a shift in perception, or adding a few slight little rituals into each day to add that colour. So that one is more transformative, though less wow than, hey, I just climbed Mount Killy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But all of it has its merits. I mean, in touching on the tools and that you mentioned, I wanted to kind of learn a bit more about that. From your portfolio of kind of expertise, what tools and habits or routines kind of do you rely on, or to stay? Yeah, do you rely on to stay grounded and kind of still be able to perform at a very high level? Personally, I'm not talking about athletes. I'm talking about as a personal level.
Kate, who's walking down the street going to a shop with her shopping bag kind of girl, rather than breaking world records. Yeah. I mean, first, if I have my off days, I just want to put it out there. Like, I don't bring like A1 game every single day. There are days where I do curl up and just binge watch a crappy TV show. And I'm allowing myself those moments as well. The one thing that is
important to have a balance. Yeah,
completely. I'm human. I'm allowed to have days like if I've just gone through quite a big shift in my relationship status. So I've just recently broken up with someone who's very special with me for and so I'm giving myself the grace to let the dust settle and reformulate where that is, and that does impact how I sleep, and that does impact how I train and my motivation and my work. So I am giving myself space to just just do what I want. It's okay. Just be human for the moment. Just let it flow, and then we can pick it up in a few weeks' time. So, I mean, the one thing that is omnipresent is communication, and compassionate communication. It's not just talk. It's, as I said, that the pauses, the listening, the reflecting, the hearing what is not being said, not just with others, but with myself too. Like, if I'm feeling sad, what is is it frustration? Is it shame? Is it regret? Like, what is the true hearing that I'm not being heard in this moment? Or I may be excited, but is it attached to the future? Is it nervous excitement? Is it a pride excitement? Like, there's a communication of unraveling the words as well. So I do a lot of journaling. And I typically write down every day 3 gratitudes, things I'm grateful for that happened in my life, but also 3 acknowledgements. What do I want to pat myself on the back for? You may not, because to you is it unnoticed. But for me, I had 3 glasses of water today because I have noticed I haven't been drinking enough water. So I want to acknowledge myself for that. So I can really pat myself on the back for the small details, not just the big wins as well. And that helps the communication of positivity to ourselves. I'm sure we've heard it all before, but we are our worst enemies. We're our biggest critic. We're the ones who are going to highlight all the reasons why we shouldn't, why we're imposter, how dare I even attempt it, who do you think you are, tall poppy syndrome, be quiet, don't stand up. People will think you're arrogant. It's all up here. It's all in our head. So like that gratitude and acknowledgements lets me vocalize those words, but also like move through it through journaling and just being with truth. Because we'll always get naysayers out there, but it's important how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I would even say that the biggest naysayers, the biggest critics is ourselves. And kind of if we are able to have empathic conversations with ourselves, then that's already a big win, rather than putting ourselves down. And kind of, through your journaling, through the gratitude, the 3 gratitudes, the 3 acknowledgements, that's a great way of you recognizing, and for anyone listening, for recognizing what you're grateful for, something well that you've done, that you are proud of. And that's kind of sets a tone as well, whether it is for your life, for the day, because it just kind of allows you to put in perspective. And that is a way of celebrating, I guess, the small wins then that over periods of time add up. So I think it's that's I'm usually thankful for you for sharing that, because it's just, I think it's pure gold for people listening, including myself. And I think it's and wanted to you kind of you are kind of in the as a coach working with several people, within athletes, within other environments, whether it is business, career wise. I wanted to kind of ask you this: if you could give our listeners one challenge to take tomorrow, to take this month, whether it is physical, mental, behavioral, what would it be and why?
Okay, so this challenge, I would love people to do this and share it. I'd love to hear how you guys get on with it.
Please share it on social media, tag us.
I'd love every listener to speak to one stranger every single day. And it could be asking a question like, what time is it? Or it could be complimenting the colour of the jumper. It could be anything at all, asking for directions, but speak to one stranger and notice what comes up from them as well as from you. And why? I think it'd be fun. For one, it would definitely remove this fear of others. there is this othering happening. I'm sensing in society at the moment, like you're either with us or against us. You're either, you know, my tribe or in the other tribe that needs to be ignored and silenced. So I think it will blur the lines of othering. And also, you never know what may happen from that meeting. It might make someone's day. They might be having a really bad moment and they are struggling, and you just asking the time, they feel seen, which is quite a special experience. I had, if I may share a personal story why this is important to me.
Please.
When I left Australia in 2015 and was injured and lost my world championship title in triathlon and moved back to Wales in winter, so it was my first winter of 3 or 4 years. So I was really struggling mentally. Like I wasn't leaving the house for days on end, and I was really sort of emotionally burdened by the obligation of, I used to be a world champion. I should be much better than I am. I should know, but I'm not. So there's a huge world of should. I should be doing all of this and I'm not. And I also have a double master's in engineering, so I should get a good job. I should be paid this much and I should be doing that, and I'm not doing any of it. Like, I'm a failure is the dialogue that was going on. I got a job as a toilet cleaner in a local cafe on a 0-hour contract, minimum wage. It's a national brand chained cafe. So I'm sure all of us have had a coffee in one of them. But I was cleaning the toilets. And I remember because no one talked to me. I was like the untouchable. Don't talk to the middle-aged woman cleaning bathrooms. And I remember one of the clients, one of the regulars, actually said, "How are you?" That's all he did. I cleaned the table that he was at. I was upgraded from toilets to tables. And he said, "Hey, how are you? I see you here often." And I started to cry because I realized no one had asked me that for weeks. And it was the simplest question. And that really helped my pathway into my own sort of confidence building. Within 3-4 months, I'd actually progressed to being the assistant manager of that cafe. I then left and started a consultancy, helping other companies grow as well, and earning 3 figures an hour. But in that moment, I was a minimum wage toilet cleaner, and somebody asked me how I was, and it changed everything for me. I felt seen, heard, and that I had the confidence and courage to dream a bit bigger. So please ask a stranger something. You don't know who you might be speaking to.
You don't. I mean, that's a remarkable story. Thanks for sharing it. It's because it puts kind of, it makes me even more in awe of what you have accomplished, kind of your journey. But also, it just puts in perspective that small acts of kindness go a long way, and you never know what might happen, from that. So I guess, I'll take that challenge on myself, because you don't know, and you even just talking to a stranger can be something very simple as saying, "How are you?" And then it doesn't have to go anywhere. It can just be that. But is the act. It's showing up to someone else.
Yeah. Completely.
I mean, you often talk about redefining success. You're often talking about changing. You work as well as a coach, and kind of that's part of as well of, your personal, like walking or coaching people through personal transformations, business transformations, however it is. But I wanted to put this question to you, and I'm aware that the answers might differ depending on the day, the year, whatever it is. But what does success look like to you today?
What a great question. Having the freedom to connect with who I want every single day and where, that to me is success. I'm currently creating that lifestyle. So I'm currently looking to buy land to live off grid, but also create like a community hub for people to come and connect with nature at no entry, no financial cost, to actually experience what walking in the forest or growing a potato or tomato feels like. And at the moment, I don't have that freedom because I have bills and I have costs and I have expenses and I have to pay for this life that I'm not particularly enjoying at the moment for some weird reason. So yeah, so for me, freedom is that choice to be with whom I want, where I want to be. And at the moment, that's in a forest somewhere far away.
Yeah.
In Wales, not far away.
Very well. So, so my next question on building from that one, because this question is so personal, and when you say freedom, it's kind of it's a very you kind of freedom is everything you want it to be, and for you that's to have that piece of land where you can make that choice of just being a forest in Wales. But for people listening, what tools in your experience would a person need to be able to define their own success, whether it is in work, whether it is in their hobbies, in their personal life? What tools do they need to think about?
I mean, everyone's so different. And we have so many different, we all starting at such different levels as well. Like, I don't have kids, I don't have a mortgage. So I'm starting at a pretty low obligation from outside myself kind of space, where others have those things. So a big pivot is not possible because they love the home that they've created. And obviously they probably love their children too. So that isn't something they want to remove, but it does pivot that question a lot. I think, let's just assume we're in that coaching session now. Like, I would get you to list the areas of your life that are important to you, like really resonate with your heart, or play a big role. Because you might despise your job, but it takes up 8 hours a day. So that needs to be there. So list the areas that are really important and rank them in terms of satisfaction. Like, this one's pretty good. Like, I'm quite healthy. I'm in a good relationship, blah, blah, blah. This area is really sucky and I want to change it quite hard. It's like, I don't enjoy where I live. We focus on that one first. So the Brian Tracy book, Eat That Frog, take what's ugly, badass, you've been resisting and avoiding for hours on day, but it's the one that keeps you up at night. That's where we start. So then we can look into that. And there's a beautiful, for simplicity for this call, there's a beautiful Japanese model called Ikigai, which is basically 4 circles with intersected in the middle. And the middle bit is Ikigai. I can't remember the exact meaning, but it's sort of peace and satisfaction, we'll say, but it's not at all. But the 4 circles are what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can pay, and what people will pay you for, and what you enjoy doing. So it's finding that intersection of all 4. And there will be some compromise, but it's making sure you're not doing something that pays well for your compromise of satisfaction, for example, or you might be good at it, but you can't get paid. It's finding that equilibrium within that space. So, I mean, those are just 2 simple models that I'd start with. And then it's about those small incremental changes over time. And just like my 24-hour cycle ride, I started with 20 minutes on a bike and grew it to 24 hours. So we don't need that big jolting. If you want to move house, you don't have to sell your house tomorrow. It might be progressively and gradually working out a payment plan to reduce your mortgage before you start looking, or, there's steps that we can take, but doing something today is really important.
Yeah, very good. I mean, there's I had earlier kind of a guest, Sarah Ruggins, and she just completed another a world record ride. Traveling from Land's End to Johnny Groves and back, I think that was it. And she broke the world record on that. And one of the things that she mentioned as key was having aggressive patience, learning to build incrementally, slowly towards a goal. I guess there's kind of some similarities, I believe, in that.
I like that. Aggressive patience.
Yeah. As we come to the end of our conversation. There's a tradition that I started on the podcast, where every guest leaves a question to my next guest, not knowing who they are. And the question that was left for you is the following: what is the most memorable experience that you have had on a bike?
That's a beautiful question. What's my most memorable experience? I mean, again, there's so many, but I'm going to pick one from my climate cycle, and it was in August. Sure. I was just exiting Devon, heading into Cornwall, and it was when we had those horrible storms. So like 30, 40 mile hour winds. That particular day, I had about 80 miles to cycle. I was beyond exhausted. I'd been cycling for 2 months, and I had about 4,000 feet of climbing facing me as well. So I was just not in a good place. And I also had a headwind, just to add to the pain of it. And it was the first day I'd had whinges before, but that day was the first day I ever went, I can't do this. I really can't do this. Like physically, emotionally, I am beyond empty. And on the first corner, I probably was hallucinating, just to put it out there, but on the first corner, as I sort of faced the uphill, the first of my 8 climbs of the day, and I started to cry, and I actually remember shouting out, welcome to being in a wilderness area, no one was around to hear. But I shouted out, like, why are you punishing me? Like, isn't it hard enough what I'm doing that you have to give me a headwind? And the weirdest thing is, I got an answer. And the answer came back as in to say, if we don't push you, how on earth are you ever going to know how hard you can push? And I was like, well, that's really clever. I highly doubt the wind answered me, just to put it out there. But I was like, but I really don't think I can do it. Like, I was still like, yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, weird winds, for talking to me. But I really don't think I can do this. Like, I really don't. You've pushed me beyond my breaking point now. And they said, we'll always have your back. Like, you'll always achieve what you need to. Just keep pushing, because you don't know how far you can go. And just as I climbed up a little bit of the hill, it was a T-junction, and it created a little wind eddy, and it literally pushed me up to the top of the hill. And it was the strangest, most sort of existential experience I've ever had on the bike, that I had a conversation with the wind, and the wind turned from a headwind into a tailwind just to get me up to the top of the hill. But it taught me so much. We never know how far we can go unless we go to breaking points, and it's not comfortable, and we just need to be okay with that. So it was really, maybe it's not the cycle story you imagined, but it was really powerful.
It is brilliant. It's a beautiful story. I think it's important for you to have shared with us. It's the beautiful part of this tradition is that, these questions start. The questions start like a conversation of themselves, because the answers are so unpredictable, and it also reveals even sometimes a different side to the person. I think it does show kind of I don't want to call it a pivotal moment, but it's like almost an awareness that you are able to transcend your limits, because it's you that you are setting your own limits, only you, and those limits can be pushed even further. So I think that's kind of maybe the lesson that I'm taking from that story. I mean, it's such a brilliant story, but it's kind of it stuck with you, because it's just you kind of build you can play it again and again. It's like at that moment as kind of you can change the perception, and you can shift how you think about the hardship that you're going through in the moment, and just try to overcome it. It's brilliant. So I guess now is your turn to leave a question to my next guest. What question would you like to leave to my next guest?
So you put me on the spot now because I haven't prepared a question. So what would I ask somebody? Are they going to be a cyclist? Can I ask that? Is that allowed?
I mean, they are going to be. They will have a kind of some kind of connection to the bike. All the people that come on the podcast have a connection with the bike. They are not necessarily cyclists or sports people. They have a connection with the bike. The bike has played some kind of role in their lives.
So I'm just looking for a question I'm going to talk you through my thinking rather than just sitting here in silence. So okay. I'm trying to formulate a question around engaging people. Okay, here's one. What's your favorite cycle story about meeting new friends or strangers? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the cycling, riding bikes is a great way to meet new people. And like through, I mean, you are a great example of that through your climate cycle, as meeting new people along the way and making new friendships. So yeah, it's the same. I can vouch for that as well. So it's a great way it's a great question. Kate, as we come to the end, I am very grateful to have had the opportunity for you to share this story, your story with us. Is a story that is very powerful, as I hope people listening to it have gained a lot of insights from you, from your story, because it's about overcoming adversity and building almost a new self from adversity into about physically, mentally, and discovering a new power within you. So I think it's a very powerful story in how you can change your mindset, you can change your perception, and you can transform yourself to be a better version of yourself, if that makes sense. So thank you for sharing it.
Thank you so much for this opportunity as well, Pedro. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you, and some really, really insightful and thought-provoking questions as well.
Wow, what an amazing conversation with Kate Strong. If something Kate shared lit a fire in you, maybe it was her journey from rock bottom to world champion, or her commitment to living for purpose over perfection, hold on to that feeling. Let it guide you to your next move, on or off the bike. If this conversation got you thinking about how cycling can shift your mindset, or someone navigating change, share it with 2 friends who might need to listen to this episode. I'll be very grateful. And if you haven't already, please follow Ride to Success wherever you listen to this podcast. It's the best way to keep these powerful conversations and stories coming your way. So stay curious, stay brave, and stay with us in Ride to Success. Thank you for listening.